Good morning, good people. Let me tell y'all something real quick. If you don't believe in yourself, don't expect nobody else to do it for you. That's the truth. Ain't nobody gonna wake up in the morning and hand you confidence. Ain't nobody gonna knock on your door and say, hey, I got some belief for you. That's your job. See, too many folks are waiting for somebody to validate them, waiting for somebody to clap for them, waiting for permission to be great. Let me ask you something. Who told you that you ain't good enough? Who made you feel like you can't make it? Whoever it was, let me help you right now. They lied. If you don't believe in yourself, don't expect anybody else to do it for you. That's the truth. Too many people are walking around waiting for someone to validate them, waiting for someone to give them permission to be great. But let me tell you something. Nobody is coming to do that for you. You have to decide for yourself that you are worth believing in. See, the problem ain't that you don't have the talent. It's not that you don't have the ability. It's that you keep second guessing yourself. You keep looking at other people and thinking they got something you don't. You see folks out here succeeding, making moves, living their dreams, and you tell yourself, maybe that's for them, but it ain't for me. But why not? What makes you think you don't deserve it? What makes you believe that you ain't good enough? Somebody put that doubt in your mind. Maybe it was a teacher. Maybe it was a so-called friend. Maybe it was family. Somebody told you directly or indirectly that you weren't enough. And over time, you started to believe it. But let me tell you something. They lied to you. You were born with everything you need to succeed. You were born with the ability, the talent, and the potential to do something great. But see, life has a way of beating people down. You go through failures, you hear criticism, you face rejection, and if you're not careful, you start letting those experiences define you. You start believing that because you failed before, you'll fail again. You start thinking that because somebody didn't believe in you, they must be right, but they ain't right. The only person who can decide what you're capable of is you. Look around. Every successful person you admire had to fight through doubt. They had to push past fear. They had to wake up every day and choose to believe in themselves even when nobody else did. If they can do it, so can you. The difference between those who make it and those who don't is not talent. It's not luck. It's mindset. You keep looking for external approval when the only approval you need is your own. You keep waiting for somebody to tell you that you're ready. But guess what? Nobody is ever fully ready. People don't succeed because they feel ready. They succeed because they start. They move forward even when they're scared. They push past the doubt, the fear, the insecurity, and they step into their potential. There will always be people who don't believe in you. That's life. There will always be naysayers, critics, and doubters. But what they think does not matter. Their opinion does not define you. Their doubt cannot stop you unless you let it. What matters is what you believe. What matters is what you tell yourself when nobody else is around. What matters is that you wake up every day and remind yourself that you are capable. Because the moment you decide to believe in yourself, everything changes. You already have something inside you that makes you special. You may not see it yet, but it's there. You weren't put on this earth empty-handed. There is a gift, a talent, an ability that is unique to you and has been there since day one. The problem is, most people spend their lives looking everywhere except within themselves. They look at what somebody else is doing, what somebody else has, what somebody else achieved, and they convince themselves that they don't have the same potential. But that's not true. The only difference between the people who succeed and the people who don't is that successful people recognize their gift and they use it. Maybe it was your circumstances, maybe it was failure or rejection, but something made you doubt yourself. Something made you believe that you weren't gifted. You started comparing yourself to other people, thinking that if your talent doesn't look like theirs, then it must not be valuable. But comparison is the enemy of progress. You weren't meant to be like them. You weren't meant to follow their path. Your gift is different, and that's a good thing. The problem isn't that you don't have a gift. The problem is that you don't trust it. You've been conditioned to think that if your talent isn't obvious, if it isn't flashy, if it doesn't get immediate recognition, then it must not be real. But that's not how it works. Some gifts take time to develop. Some talents require you to believe in them before anyone else does. Just because people don't see it yet doesn't mean it's not there. Just because it hasn't made you successful yet doesn't mean it won't. You've got to stop looking for proof before you believe in yourself. You got to stop waiting for other people to confirm what you already know deep down. Nobody is going to hand you confidence. Nobody is going to give you permission to be great. You have to make that decision for yourself. The moment you stop waiting for validation and start embracing what's already inside you, that's when everything shifts. Think about all the people who made it despite the odds. They weren't always the most talented. They weren't always the most skilled, but they were the ones who refused to let doubt win. They were the ones who saw their own value even when nobody else did. If they had waited for the world to believe in them before they started, they never would have made it. You have something that nobody else has. Your perspective, your voice, your ideas, your way of doing things. Nobody else in the world has that exact combination. That's your gift. And if you don't use it, the world misses out. If you keep doubting it, you're robbing yourself of opportunities that were meant for you. If you don't trust it, you'll spend your whole life wondering what could have been instead of walking in what's possible. Dreams don't work unless you do. Having a vision for your life is great, but a vision without action is just a wish. Too many people walk around talking about what they want to do, what they're going to be, how life is going to change for them one day. But they never put in the work to make it happen. They wait for the right time, the perfect opportunity, the magic moment where everything falls into place. And that moment never comes. Because success doesn't happen by accident. It happens when you get up every single day and put in the effort, whether you feel like it or not. Everybody wants success, but not everybody is willing to do what it takes. People love to dream about the big house, the nice car, the financial freedom, the career they always wanted. But when it's time to put in the hours, make the sacrifices, do the hard work, they start looking for shortcuts. There are no shortcuts. You don't get results by wishing. You don't build a future by hoping. You build it by grinding, by showing up, by pushing through when you want to quit. Look at anybody who has ever accomplished anything meaningful. They didn't get there by luck. They got there because they worked when nobody was watching. They practiced when nobody was clapping. They kept going when nobody believed in them. The difference between people who succeed and people who don't isn't talent. It isn't intelligence. It's discipline. It's consistency. It's waking up every day and doing what needs to be done even when you don't feel motivated. The problem is too many people want quick results. They want success, but they don't want the struggle that comes with it. They want the rewards without the effort. But you can't cheat the process. You can't skip the hard parts. Every dream comes with a price, and you have to be willing to pay it. Some days that means working late while everyone else is relaxing. Some days that means failing over and over again before you finally get it right. Some days that means sacrificing comfort so you can build something bigger for yourself. You will never meet a truly successful person who didn't struggle first. You will never meet a champion who didn't put in hours of practice behind the scenes. What separates those who win from those who don't is the ability to keep pushing forward even when progress is slow, even when it feels like nothing is working, even when doubt starts creeping in. The truth is, your dreams are possible, but they will never become reality if you don't take action. You can have all the talent in the world, but if you don't put in the work, it means nothing. The people who make it aren't the ones who had it easy. They're the ones who refuse to quit. They're the ones who showed up every day, put their heads down, and did what needed to be done. Because at the end of the day, you don't get what you wish for, you get what you work for. Failure is not final. Winners get back up. Too many people let failure define them. They try something once, it doesn't work out, and they convince themselves that they weren't meant to succeed. They take a loss, and instead of learning from it, they let it stop them completely. But failure is not the opposite of success. It's part of the process. Every person who has ever accomplished anything great has failed along the way. The only difference is they didn't stay down. They got back up, dusted themselves off, and kept going. The problem is most people are afraid of failing. They're afraid of looking bad, of making mistakes, of trying and coming up short. So instead of going after what they really want, they play it safe. They avoid risk. They convince themselves that if they don't try, they can't fail. But the truth is, not trying is failure. Sitting on the sidelines while life passes you by is failure. Waking up every day knowing you're capable of more but choosing to stay in your comfort zone is failure. At least when you fail going after something, you learn, you grow, you get better. But if you never try, you guarantee that you'll stay exactly where you are. The most successful people in the world have all failed, some of them over and over again. The difference is they refuse to let failure stop them. They saw every setback as a setup for a comeback. They understood that failure is a teacher, not a dead end. Every time they fell, they got back up and tried again. But this time, they were smarter. This time, they knew what didn't work. This time, they were stronger. The people who win in life aren't the ones who never fail. They're the ones who fail the most and keep going anyway. Think about a child learning to walk. They don't fall once and decide walking isn't for them. They don't hit the ground and say, well, I guess I'll just crawl for the rest of my life. No, they get up, try again, fall, get up, try again, over and over until one day they take those steps. They don't overthink it. They don't let the failure break them. They just keep going because that's the only way they'll ever learn. Somewhere along the way, we forget that. We start treating failure like it's the end instead of just another step forward. People love to talk about success, but they don't talk enough about the failures that came before it. They see the wins, but not the late nights, the heartbreak, the disappointments, the rejections. Every person at the top of their game has a story of how they almost quit, how they almost gave up, how they were told no more times than they can count. But they didn't let failure win. They didn't let one bad chapter define their whole story. They kept going because they understood that failure only defeats you if you stay down. Winners don't stay down. Winners get back up. Fear is robbing you. Stop playing small. Every single day, people let fear control them. They let it dictate their choices, limit their potential, and keep them from stepping into the life they were meant to live. Fear whispers in their ear, telling them they're not good enough, not smart enough, not talented enough. And instead of fighting back, they believe it. They shrink themselves. They settle for less than they deserve. They let opportunities pass them by because they're too afraid to take the risk. But fear is a liar. Fear will have you living a life that is far beneath your potential if you let it. People talk themselves out of their own blessings because they're too scared to step outside of their comfort zones. They say they want success, but the moment it requires them to do something unfamiliar, something uncertain, they freeze, they wait, they hesitate. They come up with every excuse in the book about why it's not the right time, why they're not ready, why they need to wait just a little bit longer. But the truth is, fear is the only thing standing between them and the life they want. And the longer they wait, the more control it has over them. Fear will convince you that you're protecting yourself, but really, it's just keeping you stuck. It will tell you that staying where you are is safer, that avoiding risk is the right thing to do. But there is no growth in comfort. There is no success in playing it safe. Every person you admire, every success story you've ever heard, every individual who has ever achieved something great had to push past fear to get there. They were scared too. They had doubts too, but the difference is they didn't let fear make the decision for them. They felt the fear and moved forward anyway. Most people don't fail because they aren't capable. They fail because they never even try. They let the fear of failure stop them before they start. They sit on the sidelines watching other people go after their dreams while they convince themselves that it's not possible for them. But what if the only thing standing between you and success was your willingness to take the first step? What if the only thing you needed to do was trust yourself enough to try? The truth is, fear never really goes away. There will always be uncertainty, always be risk, always be moments of doubt. But courage isn't about being fearless, it's about acting in spite of fear. It's about deciding that your dreams are bigger than your doubts, that your purpose is stronger than your hesitation, that you are worthy of the life you want, even if it scares you. You have to stop playing small. You have to stop making yourself invisible just because it feels safer. You weren't created to live a life of hesitation, of second guessing, of constantly wondering what could have been if only you had been brave enough to try. Fear will keep robbing you until you decide to take back what belongs to you. You haven't seen the best version of yourself yet. Too many people think they've already reached their limit. They believe that where they are now is as good as it gets. They settle into routines, get comfortable with the way things are, and convince themselves that they've peaked. But the truth is, you have no idea how much more is inside of you. You have strength, talent, and potential that you haven't even tapped into yet. There is a greater version of you waiting to be discovered, but you'll never meet that version if you keep playing small, doubting yourself, and refusing to push past your current level. Growth is not automatic. It doesn't happen just because time passes. It happens because you make a decision to stretch yourself, to challenge yourself, to step into the unknown. The version of you that exists right now is built on your past experiences, your past struggles, your past choices. But there is another version of you that is built on your future, on what happens when you stop holding back, when you stop letting fear control you, when you stop accepting less than what you deserve. That version of you is stronger, wiser, more confident, and more capable. But you'll never meet that person if you keep living like this is all there is. Most people don't realize how much more they're capable of because they never push themselves far enough to see it. They stop at the first sign of struggle. They quit when things get hard. They stay inside their comfort zone, never testing their limits, never seeing how much more they have inside. But the only way to grow is to go beyond what you think is possible. You don't discover your strength when things are easy. You find out who you really are when you're pushed to your limits, when you're tested, when you feel like you have nothing left. But you keep going anyway. Every time you level up, you unlock a new version of yourself. The problem is, most people don't want to go through the process of leveling up because it's uncomfortable. It requires work. It requires sacrifice. It requires you to let go of old habits, old mindsets, and sometimes even old relationships that are holding you back. But you can't step into your future while holding on to the past. You have to be willing to let go of the person you used to be in order to become the person you're meant to be. You've already overcome things you once thought were impossible. You've already grown in ways you never imagined. And if you've come this far, what makes you think you're done? What makes you believe that this is the best it's going to get? You haven't even scratched the surface of your potential. There are talents you haven't discovered yet, dreams you haven't chased yet, opportunities you haven't stepped into yet. But none of it will happen if you don't make the decision to keep growing, to keep learning, to keep pushing past your current level. The best version of you is still ahead, but you have to be willing to go after it.